Nobody expected greatness from a small boy born on a remote island, and history almost ignored his name at the beginning. But that boy refused to accept the limits placed on him, and his rise would shake kingdoms, change wars, and redefine power forever. This is not just the story of Napoleon. This is the story of what happens when ambition meets relentless belief. Imagine being born poor, unknown, and underestimated. Imagine people laughing at your accent, your background, and your dreams. That was Napoleon Bonaparte, born in Corsica, a place newly controlled by France. He was not part of the elite. He was not powerful. He was not welcomed. And from the first day he stepped into military school, he felt like an outsider. Other students mocked him, teachers doubted him, and he struggled to fit into a system designed for the privileged. But while others chased popularity, Napoleon chased mastery. He spent nights studying strategy, mathematics, history, and war. While others slept, he trained his mind, because he understood something most people never learn. Early success is not required, but preparation is everything. When the French Revolution exploded, France entered chaos. Kings were falling, governments collapsing, and armies needed leaders fast. Opportunity appeared, but opportunity only helps those who are ready. Napoleon was ready. At just 24 years old, he took command during the siege of Toulon, and instead of following tradition, he studied terrain, calculated angles, and moved artillery in ways generals had never imagined. Victory came fast, and suddenly the young outsider became a rising star. This moment teaches a brutal truth. Success rarely begins with confidence from others. It begins with competence built in silence. Napoleon did not wait for permission. He created proof through action. Fame brought pressure, enemies, jealousy, and expectations. Many hoped he would fail, and soon he did. Political shifts removed him from command, and he was nearly forgotten again. Most people would have accepted defeat. Most people would have blamed luck. But Napoleon used failure as fuel. He studied harder, refined strategies, and prepared for another chance. Because he believed destiny rewards persistence, not comfort. Then came Italy, a starving, exhausted army with little hope. Soldiers lacked food, supplies were weak, and morale was broken. When Napoleon arrived, many officers doubted him. He looked young, small, and unproven. But he spoke to his soldiers with fire. He promised glory, purpose, and victory. He moved faster than any enemy predicted, dividing opposing forces, striking with precision, and inspiring men who once wanted to quit. Within months he transformed a broken army into an unstoppable force. Victory shocked Europe, and Napoleon became a legend almost overnight. But overnight success is a myth. It was built on years of invisible struggle. Napoleon understood psychology as much as warfare. He gave soldiers belief before giving orders. He knew people fight harder for meaning than survival. This lesson applies far beyond battlefields. Understood. I'll continue seamlessly with the same style. Here we go. People fight harder for meaning than survival. This lesson applies far beyond battlefields. People want purpose, direction, and belief in their cause. Napoleon Bonaparte's story teaches us that the path to success is forged not in the absence of obstacles, but in the relentless pursuit of mastery. That is the enduring lesson of his life. Succeed when they believe their struggle matters. Success is emotional before it becomes physical. Power continued to grow, and soon Napoleon returned to France, not just as a general, but as a symbol of hope. The nation was unstable, leadership weak, and citizens desperate for direction. In 1799, he made his boldest move, a political coup that placed him at the center of power. Critics called him dangerous, supporters called him necessary, but Napoleon believed leadership required decisive action. He became first consul and later emperor, not because he was born royal, but because he convinced an entire nation that he could lead them into strength. Think about that transformation. An outsider mocked for his origins, now crowned ruler of France. This was not luck. This was vision combined with fearless execution. Napoleon reformed laws, education, economy, and government, creating systems that still influence modern society today. His famous legal code established equality before the law, an opportunity based on talent rather than birth, proving his deepest belief that ability should define destiny, not background. But success carries a shadow. The higher you rise, the greater the resistance. European powers feared his expansion, wars intensified, and pressure mounted. Yet Napoleon continued to innovate, moving armies faster, thinking differently, and adapting constantly. He won battle after battle because he studied mistakes more than victories. However, even legends face turning points. The invasion of Russia became his greatest gamble. Harsh winters stretched supply lines and exhausted soldiers. Disaster followed, and the empire began to crack. This part of the story matters most because it reveals the human side of greatness. Even the strongest minds make flawed decisions. Failure returned, and this time it was massive. Napoleon was forced into exile. Many believed his story had ended, but history witnessed something extraordinary. Instead of disappearing, he escaped exile, returned to France, and rebuilt an army in what became known as the 100 Days. Imagine the courage required to try again after losing everything. Imagine facing the world after public defeat. That is resilience at its purest form. Though he would eventually lose at Waterloo, his legacy was already immortal. Napoleon proved that greatness is not measured only by final victory, but by the scale of courage displayed throughout the journey. His life teaches powerful lessons. Success belongs to those who think independently, who prepare obsessively, and who refuse to accept limitations placed by society. He showed that confidence grows from competence, that leadership comes from clarity, and that persistence can elevate an ordinary person into historical legend. Many people wait for perfect conditions. Napoleon acted within imperfect realities. Many fear criticism. Napoleon used doubt as motivation. Many quit after failure. Napoleon reinvented himself repeatedly. The difference between ordinary lives and extraordinary ones is not talent. It is intensity of belief combined with relentless action. Ask yourself, what would change if you approached your goals with the same urgency? What if rejection became training? What if, understood, there is no additional text to read aloud? Please provide the next section or a specific line for me to articulate. Failure became information. What if obstacles became strategy lessons? Napoleon rose from nothing, not because the world helped him, but because he refused to remain small in his own mind. And that is the ultimate message history whispers to every generation. Power begins internally before it appears externally. Greatness is built daily through discipline, vision, and courage, long before recognition arrives. Somewhere right now, someone is underestimated, someone is doubted, someone feels invisible. And that person could be you. The world does not decide your potential, your decisions do. Napoleon started as an unknown outsider, yet reshaped an era, because he believed action creates identity. If a young man from a forgotten island could rise to command nations, then the limits you see today may only be temporary illusions. History rewards those bold enough to challenge it, and your story, like his, has not been written yet. The question is simple. Will you wait for opportunity, or will you prepare so relentlessly that opportunity has no choice but to find you?